Hi guys, I'm unable to be there today, so I made this video to help you through the lesson on simple interest and some multi-step percent problems. Please be kind to your sub, make sure you're being helpful, please be safe, make sure you're wearing your mask above your nose at all times, and listen to directions and be cooperative. All right, let's get started. All right, our learning targets today are I can find simple interest and I can solve multi-step percent problems. Jacob has $400 in a savings account. He earned 2% simple interest every year. How much simple interest would Jacob earn after 3 years? So in this problem, we're trying to find out how much simple interest he would earn. And this is the formula we would use. I equals P times R times T. The I stands for the interest, the simple interest that he would earn. The P stands for the principal. Principal means the original amount of money that Jacob starts with. The letter R stands for the rate, which is the percent. So he earns 2% simple interest. That is the rate, 2%. But we have to write that as a decimal. So we would write it as 0.02. And T stands for time, which has to be measured in years. One way to remember this equation is I party. I equals PRT, I party. All right, so on this next slide, we're going to solve this problem. Jacob has $400 in a savings account. He earns 2% simple interest every year. How much simple interest would Jacob earn after 3 years? So how much simple interest would he earn? I don't know. So for the letter I, I'm just going to write a question mark. That's what we're trying to find. P, what's the principal that he starts with? How much money does he start with? $400. R, what's the rate of simple interest that he earns? That would be 2%, but we're going to have to write that as a decimal. So we're going to move the decimal over once, move the decimal over twice. It would be 0.02. How much time is going to pass in years? 3 years. All right, now we're ready to solve for interest. So interest is principal times rate times time. So we're going to do the principal, which is $400, times the rate, which is 0.02, times the time in years, which is 3 years. All right, go ahead and solve how much interest Jacob earns. Okay, you should have found that Jacob earns $24. So Jacob earned $24 in simple interest. His new account balance would be, well, he starts with $400, right? And now we're going to add on the interest that he earned after 3 years. So his new account balance would be $424. Lena takes out a $5,000 loan. She pays 11% simple interest. How much simple interest does Lena owe if she paid back her loan in 8 years? Well, first, we're trying to find out the simple interest, so I'm going to write a question mark for I. We don't know how much interest. The principal that she starts with, she took out a $5,000 loan, so that's the original amount of money she took out. The rate, that's the percent. But we're not going to write in 11 for the rate. We have to turn it into a decimal. So we move the decimal over once, move the decimal over twice. That would be 0.11. And how many years go by? 8 years. All right, let's find out how much interest she owes. Interest equals principal times rate times time. So to find the interest that Lena owes, we have to do the $5,000 loan times 0.11 times 8 years. Okay, go ahead and find out how much interest Lena owes. All right, you should have found out that Lena owes $4,400 in interest. Lena would owe $4,400 in simple interest. So how much would she owe total? Well, she took out a $5,000 loan and she took 8 years to pay it back at an 11% interest rate. So after those 8 years, Lena actually owes $9,400 for that loan. James put $880 in a savings account that earned 7.5% interest. How much simple interest would James make after 6 years? How much simple interest would James make after 10 years? So we're comparing how much interest he would make in 6 years versus 10 years. So for the 6 years, start with $880. Now we need to look at the rate. It says 7.5%, which is 7.5%. But we still have to make that into a decimal. So I'm going to move the decimal over once, move the decimal over twice. That would be 0.075 for 6 years. All right, go ahead and find out how much James would make after 6 years. Okay, you should have found out that James would make $396. All right, so what about 10 years? He should make more than that, right? Go ahead and pause the video and find out how much he should make in 10 years. All right, to solve this one, you should have written 880 times 0.075 times 10. And you should have found that the interest that James made after 10 years is $660. So if he kept the money in the savings account longer, he would make more money in interest. If the simple interest on $8,000 for 5 years is $3,600, what is the interest rate? This problem is slightly different because it's giving us the principal that we start with, the amount of time, and it's giving us the interest that we earned, and it's asking us for the rate. So first, what is the interest that we earn? If the simple interest on $8,000 for 5 years is $3,600, okay, so $3,600 is the interest. I'm going to write that underneath I. What is the principal? What's the amount that we started with? $8,000. What is the interest rate? We don't know. That's actually what they want us to find out. How many years are going to go by? 5 years. All right, so this one's going to be a little bit different because now I can plug something in for I, but I can't plug anything in for R. So when I get to I in the equation, I'm going to plug in $3,600 equals. The principal is $800 times the rate. I don't know the rate, so I'm actually going to leave that as R because R is already a variable, times. All right, T is the time. 5 years passed, so I'm going to put a 5 here. All right, to solve this, I'm going to write 3,600 equals, and then I'm going to look at the right-hand side of the equation, and I'm going to clean it up. And I'm going to do that by doing 8,000 times 5. I find 8,000 times 5 is 40,000. So I cleaned up the right-hand side of the equation by multiplying those two numbers together. Now I can solve the equation. R is being multiplied by 40,000, so I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by 40,000. Okay, I'm going to cross off the 40,000s. Now I have R equals, all right, go ahead and do 3,600 divided by 40,000. Okay, you should get 0.09, which is a decimal that we need to convert into a percent. So the answer should be 9%. If the simple interest on $6,500 for 4 years is $910, what is the interest rate? So in this problem, they gave us the principal, they gave us the time, they gave us the interest amount, but they did not give us the interest rate. So first, what is the interest here that we earned? If the simple interest on $6,500 for 4 years is $910, all right, that means the interest is $910. What is the principal? What's the amount that we start with? $6,500. What is the interest rate? They didn't give it to us. What is the time? How many years pass? 4 years pass. All right, let's start plugging this into the equation. I equals PRT. So first we can plug in a number for I. The interest is $910. We can also plug in a number for P. The principal is $6,500 times the rate we don't know times the time in years is 4. All right, so I'm going to write down 910 equals, and then when I get to the right-hand side of the equation, I'm going to clean it up. And I'm going to do that by multiplying these two numbers together. Go ahead and multiply those two numbers together, see what you get. All right, you should get 26,000 times R. Now I can solve the equation. R is being multiplied by 26,000. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So I have to divide both sides by 26,000. All right, cross off the 26,000s. R equals, go ahead and do 910 divided by 26,000. All right, you should have found the answer to be 0.035. Now we have to turn this into a percent. We move the decimal over once, move the decimal over twice. It should be 3.5%. You deposit $900 in the bank at an interest rate of 4.2%. If you want to earn $321.30 in simple interest, how long should you keep your deposit in the bank? So in this problem, they give us the principal, they give us the rate, they give us the interest, but they do not give us the time. So we're going to know everything except T. So first, what is the interest in this problem? The interest is $321.30. What is the money that we start with, or the principal? Principal is $900. The rate is 4.2%, but we want to turn that into a decimal. So we need to move the decimal over once, move the decimal over twice, put the decimal right there. It would be 0.042. And the time we don't know, so I'm going to write a question mark. All right, let's start plugging things into our equation, I equals PRT. So first we can plug in the simple interest, $321.30 equals. We can plug in the principal, which is $900. We can plug in the rate, 0.042. But we can't plug in the time, so I'm going to leave that as a variable. All right, time to solve this. I'm going to write $321.30 equals, and then when I get to the right-hand side of the equation, I'm going to clean it up by multiplying these two numbers together. All right, go ahead and find the product of those two numbers. Okay, you should have gotten 37.8 times T. All right, T is being multiplied by 37.8, so we just need to divide both sides by 37.8. Go ahead and find out how much time needs to pass. All right, the answer here is 8.5. So you'd have to keep the deposit in the bank for 8.5 years. You deposit $400 in the bank at an interest rate of 2%. If you want to earn $400 in simple interest, how long should you keep your deposit in the bank? So we want to earn $400 in simple interest. We're going to deposit $400 into the bank. So the interest we want is $400. The principal we start with is $400. So basically we want to double the amount in our bank account. The interest rate is 2%, but we have to turn that into a decimal. Move the decimal over once, move the decimal over twice. That'd be 0.02. And we want to know how much time would have to pass. All right, so I'm going to plug in everything I know. I know the interest is 400. I know the principal is 400. I know that the rate is 0.02. And I don't know how many years need to pass. Okay, to solve this equation, I'm just going to write 400 equals And then when I get to the right-hand side of the equation, I'm going to clean it up by finding the product of these two numbers. Go ahead and find the product of those numbers. All right, you should have found the product to be 8. All right, t is being multiplied by 8. The opposite of multiplying by 8 is dividing by 8. Go ahead and find out how many years need to pass. The answer is 50. Keep the deposit in the bank for 50 years. So if you start with 400 and you want to make $400 in simple interest, it would take you 50 years at an interest rate of 2%. Kate and Gianna both take out $4,000 loans at an 8% interest rate. Kate needs 9 years to pay back the loan, and Gianna needs only 3 years. How much more simple interest does Kate need to pay than Gianna? All right, so we are given the principal is $4,000 for both girls. We are given that the rate is 8% for both girls. But Kate needs 9 years and Gianna only needs 3 years. I want you guys to start out by finding out how much interest both girls would need to pay by solving I equals PRT for both Kate and Gianna below. Go for it. All right, I'm about to go over both Kate and Gianna's simple interest. So for Kate, I would do 4,000 times 0.08 times 9, and you should get 2,880. For Gianna, I should do 4,000 times 0.08 times 3, and I would get 960. So how much more simple interest does Kate need to pay? The last thing you'd need to do is subtract. So go ahead and subtract those two values if you haven't done so already. Kate would need to pay $1,920 more in simple interest because it takes her longer to pay back that loan. All right, now on to some multi-step percent problems that are similar to the ones that are going to be on Math Excel. Natalie starts with $75. This amount is increased by 25%. The result is decreased by 40%. How much money does Natalie have now? Now you have to do this in 2 steps. The first thing you have to do is increase the amount by 25%. So let's increase the amount by 25%. That means we want 100% plus 25% extra. That's 125%. So if she starts with $75, we were going to do 1.25 times 75. And that's how we increase it by 25%. Go ahead and find out what that is. All right, you should have found out that that is $93.75. It says the result is decreased by 40%. So this new number, the $93.75, has to be decreased by 40%. To decrease by 40%, we need to start with 100 and subtract 40%. That leaves us with 60%. So to decrease by 40%, we're going to do 0.60 times $93.75. Go ahead and find out what that is. All right, you should have found out that the answer is $56.25. So Natalie would have $56.25 now. You have to do this problem in 2 steps or else the answer you get would be incorrect. Pizza Villa restaurant adds 18% tip when a party has 8 or more people. On Friday, 10 friends went to dinner at Pizza Villa. Their dinner cost $330.40 before tax and tip. Tax is 5%. If they split the bill evenly, how much does each person need to pay? Round to the nearest penny. So the key information in this problem is you're going to leave an 18% tip. You have 10 friends going. The dinner costs this much before tax and tip. The tax is going to be 5%. And you're going to split the bill evenly. So start with 100% for the meals. Then you're charged 5% tax on that amount. And you're also charged 18% tip on that amount. because you don't tip on the price with tax, you just tip on the price of the meal. So that's why we can just add all three of these percents together. They don't build off of one another. So go ahead and do 100 plus 5 plus 18. All right, you should get 123%. You have to do 1.23 times the price of the meals. Go ahead and find out what that product is. Okay, you should have found out that the cost of the meal with tax and tip is 406.392. Okay, don't round yet because it's not the end of the problem. We still need to split the bill evenly into 10 parts, and that's division. So go ahead and split that bill into 10 parts by dividing by 10. Okay, so now we're at the end of the problem and we can round to the nearest penny. Each person should pay $40.64. Alex hoped to grow 400 tomatoes. She actually grew 15% more than expected, but then a deer ate 20% of her crop. How many tomatoes are left? So we have to do this problem in two separate steps. First, she hoped to grow 400 tomatoes, but she grew 15% more than that. So let's increase 400 by 15%. So I want 100% of 400 and 15% extra. That is 115%. So go ahead and do 1.15 times 400 to increase 400 by 15%. All right, you should have found that she actually grew 460 tomatoes. But then a deer ate 20% of her crop. How many tomatoes are left? So since the deer ate 20%, let's decrease by 20%. So I want to do 100% minus 20%. That means that there's only 80% of her crop left. So go ahead and do 0.80 times 460 and see how many tomatoes are left. All right, the answer should be 368 tomatoes. There are 368 tomatoes left. Carter currently gets paid $15 an hour. Next month, he will receive a 10% raise. After this raise, how much will he get paid per hour? So there's a couple different ways to do this. Method number one, we could find the raise that he gets and add it on. So he gets a 10% raise, right? What is 10% of $15? We'd have to do 0.10 times 15. Go ahead and find what that would be. You should have found it was $1.50. So his raise is $1.50. So how much would he get paid per hour then? We would do $15 plus the $1.50 raise. He would get paid $16.50 an hour. There's a second method I'd like you to try. If he makes 100% of his salary and he gets a 10% raise, that means that he's actually making 110% of his salary. So we could try to find out what 110% of $15 is by doing 1.10 times 15. Go ahead and find out what that would be. Okay, you should have found that that was also $16.50 an hour. It was just another way of arriving at the same answer. So now we know he makes $16.50 an hour. Carter has to work 8 hours on Monday. How much more money would he earn during this shift after his raise than he would have made before his raise? Method one, you could find both amounts and subtract. So he used to make $15 an hour, right? So $15 an hour for 8 hours would be, go ahead and find that out. It would be $120 for that shift. But now he makes $16.50 an hour. So what if I did 8 hours times $16.50? How much would he make now? Go ahead and find that out. You should find out that now after his raise, he makes $132 for that shift. So how much more money did he earn after his raise? So if you subtract those, you'd find out he makes $12 more after this raise. Method two, If Carter makes $1.50 more each hour, remember when we found that out, he makes $1.50 more with this raise? You could just do $1.50 times 8. Go ahead and find out what that would be. You'd also find out he makes $12 more using this method. The Hobbins paid $2,145 for a sofa, which was 33% of the total cost. They'll pay the remainder of the cost upon delivery. How much money is the remainder of the cost? So they only paid a part of the sofa. So what were we given here? We know the part that they paid. We know the percent that they paid. We want to find the remainder they have to pay. But what we could do is use that formula part equals percent times whole to find out how much the whole cost of the sofa was. So they paid $2,145. That is just the part. That was 33% of the total cost. We need to make 33% into a decimal, which would be 0.33. Now we can find out what the whole cost of the sofa was. X is being multiplied by 0.33, so go ahead and divide both sides by 0.33. Okay, you should have found that the total cost of the sofa was $6,500. Careful, this is not the final answer. That is the total price. Here it was asking how much money is the remainder of the cost. So they already paid for part of the sofa. We just have to find out how much left they have to pay. So we're going to do $6,500 minus the part that they already paid. Go ahead and find out how much they owe. All right, you should have found out that they owe $4,355. Alex's family went to dinner. Alex's dinner was $14.80, which was 20% of the bill. His dad's dinner was 30% of the bill. How much did his dad's dinner cost? Focus on Alex's meal alone. What could we find out? So hint, we know the percent for Alex's dinner. We know how much this part cost. Part equals percent times whole. So Alex's dinner was $14.80. That was 20% of the bill. Go ahead and find out what the whole bill was. All right, you should have divided both sides by 0.20, and you would found that the whole bill is $74. Now we can find out how much Alex's dad's dinner was. His dad's dinner was 30% of the bill, and now we know that the bill was $74. So we just need to find out what 30% of $74 is. So 0.30 times 74. Go ahead and find out what that is. All right, you should have found that the dad's meal is $22.20. All right, Target practice. Target bought mixers for $42 and marked them up 100%. Then Target put them on sale for 30% off. Jenny buys the mixer and pays 4% tax. How much does Jenny pay to the nearest cent? Go ahead and pause the video, then unpause it to see the answer.